Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. It's a new day, another opportunity to either make money in this market or to just learn from the market. But first, let me give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And yes, the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. But if you could please like, share, comment, subscribe. Y'all, we learn and we grow together. With that being said, let's get started. So we are looking at the SPY, and as you can see, y'all, we closed at 617.85. But what's interesting is this kind of setting us up. We made a high yesterday of 619.22, which is interesting, right? It is now trading kind of like in a sideways movement. So is it setting us up for a decline or an incline? That's something to watch and be mindful of, right? So where are the trouble places as we see here? As of now, 616.33 is a support area. We see that here, and if we lose this area, let's go back to the upside. If by chance we break above this 617.05, get back above this area, we could very well have trouble again somewhere around 617.48, and breaking that level 617.91, 618.25, breaking that somewhere around 618.53, and if we should break that, we can come back to this 19.05, and breaking that, we can come back to the top of this candle, 619.22. Now back to the downside. If we should lose this area of 616.33, y'all see the ATR trailing stop and a few layers right here at 615.88, breaking the 615.88 or the 615.78 for the SPY. We can come back to around 615.42, and breaking that level, we can come back to 614.66, 614.39, 613.81. But as you can see here, breaking that level 613.23 brings us really close to this 200 EMA level that I have marked here is around 613.19. The 200 EMA is at 613.07. So breaking this area, we could very well come back to around 612.74, breaking that level 612.18, 611.83, 611.56, 611.15. So if you're trading the SPY today, those are possible areas of support and a few areas of resistance. I said trade carefully. Now, what is interesting today is Tesla. I say so often, y'all, Tesla does what Tesla does, right? This is the 30-minute chart. Again, I do apologize that it is a little bit congested, but one of the things I've learned with trading is we have to learn to filter the noise or filter the outside, the background. And this is one of those cases for me. I go in and I said, I chart the support and resistance, and I grade those areas out. So that's why we see so much here. But as of now, that's not important to me. What's important is what's going on here. I wanted to explain that because sometimes if you're looking at my Tesla chart or my SPY chart, you're like, that is overwhelming. We have to learn to filter the noise. So I said that to say we are now looking at Tesla again. We closed at 317.66. Y'all, do you see that we have made a pre-market low of 294.73? Where are the trouble places? You see, we came to this area here, 297.59. Now let's go back to the upside. If by chance we get back above this level here of 299.75, we could possibly have trouble again at this level of 301.12. Breaking that level brings us back to around 302.79. Should we break that, we could possibly have trouble 304.29. And breaking that 305.54. Now, if we break that 305.54, 307.04 could be a trouble place or resistance area for us now. Breaking that 308.47. But as you can see, that ATR trailing stop and the 50 EMA is around that 308.75 area. So definitely need to watch that for Tesla. Now, should we break that, we could very well come back to, let's say, this area 310.07, and breaking that brings us back to around the 311.50. Now back to the downside. Let's see for Tesla. Seems like we are having some technical difficulties. So back to the downside for Tesla, it seems like if we break under this 297.84, we can come back to around the 296.03, 294.95, breaking that area 293.50. If we should break that area somewhere around 291.39, 289.73. That's interesting to be saying it for Tesla, right? 288.81, breaking that level. Y'all see it here. Under the 288.81, 287.55, and again at 280. 286.50. Under that 286.50, I have 284.99, which will be interesting, right? Wanted to point out, I'm going to see if I can make that, because again, I know it is a little congested. So here, I wanted to point out this candle here. As you can see, price came down. We found support at this area, kind of like where we knew we could possibly have support. That's why it's so important that we mark those areas, right? However, we've been at this place June the 6th, I believe, 2025. So that's interesting to see that we're back here again in July. So I would say trade carefully today if you're trading Tesla. Those are possible areas to the upside and to the downside. Keep in mind, we are going to gap down, meaning there's going to be a gap that needs to be filled back to the upside. Not saying that that's going to take place today in this market. I say it so often, y'all, in this market, anything is possible. Nothing is guaranteed. So we are now looking at AMD, and as you can see, we closed at 141.90. It too has found support somewhere around this 139.11 area. Back to the upside, resistance areas 139.54, 139.97, 140.52, 141.03. Breaking that brings us to the ATR trail and stop around 141.47. Now, should we break that, in my opinion, there's going to be a lot of resistance, strong resistance in this area of 141.48 area for AMD. We have the ATR trail and stop, the 200 EMA and the 50 EMA, and a level here of 141.80. So breaking through all of that, we could very well come back to 142.23 and possibly have trouble there. So if AMD is something that you trade, those are possible rejection areas. Now back to the downside. Let's say we break this level here of 139.11. We can come back to 138.60, 138.14, 137.70. And if we break that 137.70, we can come back to 137.23. Under that level, 136.58. So under the 136.58, the next level I have here marked is at 135.54. So if you're trading AMD today, those are possible areas of, support and resistance, trouble places. I say market levels, and once it goes against your why, get out, live to trade another day, right? We are now looking 738.09. What I like to mark with Meta is immediately, it's like my eye go to the gathering spot here. Price was gathered in this area, and I need to remember that. Why? Because there's going to be a strong possibility we come back to that place. So where the trouble places for Meta, back to the upside, we will need to get back above the 738.18, breaking that 740.07. Should we break that? I'm just going to go to the body of these candles here around the 742.29. Should we break that area, we could possibly have trouble again somewhere around 746.30. However, we could very well get stopped out somewhere around this level here around 744.72. So I'm going to go back to that one. Breaking back, if we break beyond the 742.29, we could possibly have trouble 744.72. And if we should break that 746.30, breaking that brings us back to around the 748.25. And if we break that 748.88, we could possibly have trouble there again. Now back to the downside, if by chance we break under the 735.43 for Meta, something stopped us here at the 734.34. Breaking that level brings us back to around the 732.33, and breaking that 731.07. Should we break that area, 729.14, and as you can see here, the 200 EMA is around the 728.70, not very far away. So if we lose this area, we could possibly find support again, 727.77. So there's a few layers of support here for Meta around that 728.70 area. Let's say that. Now breaking that brings us back to around 725.46, and if we should break that, 723.81 could be a support place, and breaking that level 722.15. Now if we break that 722.15, the next level that I have marked is 718.63. Keep in mind, we could very well get stopped out anywhere in between this here and find a level of support. So if Meta is something that you trade, I say today, trade carefully. In this market, anything is possible, y'all. Nothing is guaranteed. So we are now looking at NVDA, and as you can see, we closed at 157.99. It looks like it is an inside day candle, so we definitely need to be careful and watch, again, not financial advice, watching those levels. let's look and see where the trouble places are. If by chance we break above 157.02, which is this area here, we could very well find trouble around the 157.44-43 area, which is the ATR trailing stop, breaking that 157.66, and if we should break that 158.17, somewhere around that area, breaking that brings us back to around the 158.72, and if we should break that, I'm going to look over here because price kind of stopped us out in this area around the 159.08. I'm looking at the body of these candles here, so around the 159.08, breaking that 159.43. So back to the downside, if by chance we break under this level, which is kind of like what we're doing now, again the candle has not closed, the 156.26, we could possibly find support around 155.95, and if we lose that area 155.59, breaking that, as you can see there's a few layers here, we can find support at that 155.35, which is our 200 EMA as of now. Breaking that level brings us back to the 155. Should we break that 155, I have 154.33. Keep in mind we could very well get stopped out anywhere in between here. Now breaking that 154.33 area for NVIDIA, 153.95, and again here at the 153.55 and breaking that 152.87. Those are possible support and resistance areas for NVIDIA. I did mention that it is an inside day candle. The trigger to the downside is under 155.95, downside target 155.25, which is, where that 200 EMA is. So that is possible. So that if NVIDIA is something that you trade today, I say trade carefully. Now back to the upside, the trigger to the upside was above the 158.67 with an upside target of 158.72, not very far away. So it looks like it's breaking out of this gathering spot here, are we going to find support at this level, or are we going to break through this level? That's something to be mindful of and be careful. I say if this is something that you trade carefully today. So we do have a few other inside day candles. Let's say CVX is one of those, meaning if it break beyond this level of $32.81, upside target 32.98. Now back to the downside, under 32.56, downside target for CVX today is 32.45. It is an inside day candle. BAC, or Bank of America, is also an inside day candle. If by chance we break above $47.64, upside target is $47.70. Now to the downside, under 47.04, downside target 46.90. So if Bank of America is something that you trade, I say trade carefully. IWM was an inside day, or is an inside day candle. We have already broken through that trigger to the downside. It was at the 215.38. Well, the downside target is 214.09. Now back to the upside, if by chance we break under 216.73, upside target 217.47. so IWM, or the Russell, is an inside day candle, so I say trade carefully. J&J is an inside day candle above the 152.98, upside target 153.35. Now to the downside, under 151.51, we have a downside target of 151. That's interesting. Under 151.51, downside target is 151. So if you trade J&J, it is an inside day candle. MRVL is also an inside day candle above 78.47, upside target 79.02. Now to the downside, under 76.70, we have a downside target of 76.42. So if Marvell or MRVL is something that you trade, I say trade carefully. We are really close to reaching that downside target. So y'all, this is what I see when I look at the market. I say so often, there's so many different ways to trade the market. I say that, and what's challenging again is what's, coming up with the strategy or the plan that works best for you, and then having the discipline to execute your plan. So I hope that everyone have a very profitable and a very productive day today. Again, if you could please like, share, comment, subscribe. Y'all, we learn and we grow together. With that being said, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others. Until next time.